The International Motorsports Association, or IMSA as it's commonly known, makes its annual pilgrimage to Alton, Virginia and Virginia International Raceway this weekend. And as usual, the competitors in the IMSA Prototype Challenge are ready to take on this iconic circuit. Up next, round 5 of 6 in 2021 on NBCSN. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with Jeremy Shaw. We'll have all the action for you today. But first, let's take a look at the weather. It's been a rainy start to the weekend, but today, at least for the moment, we're under overcast skies, and it looks like only a 15% chance of rain or so as the day moves on. So that's the good news. Also, it's just 65 degrees, so it should be a pretty comfortable day for the teams, the drivers, and the cars. Points leader Maurice Krantz, he owns the lead in the LMP3-1 class over the 54 car of Dakota Dickerson and Josh Sargent, but with 3 hours of competition ahead, who knows what the championship will look like at the end. And speaking of championships, in the LMP3-2 category, the 61 of Danny Koch and George Stakos, well, they'll clinch that crown once the green flag drops for today's race.
One of the most picturesque racing circuits you'll find in North America lies just outside Danville, Virginia. Virginia International Raceway, and it is iconic and it is historic. It is one of the most challenging racetracks you'll find, as we just said, just outside Danville, Virginia, right on the North Carolina-Virginia state line, sits VIR. And what a racetrack it is. Uphill, downhill, high speed, low speed. It has it all. Best passing zones, turn 1, maybe up into turn 12, certainly at the end of the long back straightaway, turn 14. And then that rush down through the roller coaster through turn 17, known as Hawk Pen, and onto the front straightaway, and you completed a lap here at VIR. Welcome in, everyone. IMSA Prototype Challenge competition, round 5 of 6.
Well, if you like close championship point races, you will love IMSA Prototype Challenge. Look at this championship after 4 races with just 2 to go. Maurice Krantz leads the championship over Dakota Dickerson and Josh Sargent, but only by 10 points. And in fact, if you look back to last year's point structure, the 10 points this year is only 1 point last year. So it gives you an idea of just how close it is. In fact, the first 4 driver pairings still have a mathematical shot at this championship. For the remainder of the field, they may not be in it for the championship, but rest assured they want to finish the 2021 season with at least a race win. So the competition through this next 3 hours is going to be intense. Well, from championship points to the grid and how we'll start today's race, championship points leader Maurice Krantz on the pole with a brand new teammate, 18-year-old Ugo de Wilde, will be carrying those championship hopes of Krantz with him throughout his time behind the wheel today. Dan Goldberg, Rasmus Lind, another great qualifying. They're outside the front row. The Grant brothers, another top 3 qualifying position. They've had 4 of them so far this season. They'll see if they can turn that into a podium finish. Alan Brynjolfsson, Trent Hinman outside the front row know about podiums. They won in the second round at Sebring. Jason Rabe, Courtney Crone inside row 3. But who's missing on those first 3 rows? Even the first 4, 5, 6 rows? Well, it's the 54 of Dakota Dickerson and Josh Sargent, second in the championship. They will start all the way back on the outside of row 7 after breaking a half shaft in qualifying. They did not get a lap, but they will have 3 hours to try to hunt down and get back on that rear wing of Maurice Krantz in the 21.
This is a 3-hour event. The preceding 4 races in the championship and the final round at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta will all be and have been 1 hour and 45 minutes. And so a 3-hour race completely changes the complexion of the strategy that you want to use. And we should note that 3-hour clock starts at the beginning of the second pace lap. 5 pole positions in 5 races. Krantz in the white and blue, number 21, driver's right, will lead the field to green. And alongside that 6, the blue and red, Dan Goldberg. Goldberg has been impressive the last season in the Prototype Challenge category, and right behind Goldberg, look at that bright yellow 7, Alan Brynjolfsson itching to go, the yellow 40 right beside, green flag waves, Krantz leads the field down to 1. We talk about the racetrack being dry, but Jeremy, if you get off the racetrack today, you are going for a ride.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of rain over the weekend, so the grass is pretty slick. Some large runoff areas, but I tell you what, when the grass is slick, you get across those runoff areas pretty darn quickly. But a nice clean start there. There is Antoine Comeau looking to the inside to try and make up a position in turn 3. Unable to make that move stick this time around, but it's Moritz Kranz who leads from the pole position.
And you talk about the pole position, he was on pole by 1.7 seconds, an unheard of amount, and I think the racetrack just getting better as he was out there, and he was out there at the right time when it finally got into its peak. And Krantz was just devastating to the competition in qualifying. Now leads up through the S's, flat out in a prototype challenge car through the climbing S's all the way to turn 11, on the brakes hard, downshift, down 2 gears, 3 gears, through Oak Tree onto the back straightaway, and these cars will reach top speeds of somewhere between 163 and 167 miles an hour by the time they get to the end of the back straightaway here at VIR and get on the brakes for turn 14.
Yeah, where they have to lose about 100 miles an hour to head through that corner at the top of the hill, heading down the hill, down towards Hogpen at the bottom of the hill. Great classic racetrack this, with not just corner numbers, I should say, but corner names as well. Love it.
Antoine Comeau in the 34, the white and red number 34, really feeling racy right now, sharing that car with Colin Mullin, another impressive young driver. Colin Mullin has been on a charge of late in different types of cars. In another series, he's won the last 2 races, also has a podium and a 2nd place finish in a Mercedes GT4 based machine. So Colin Mullin can get it done in both a GT car and a prototype right now. His teammate Antoine Comeau in the 34, taking it to the 17 just in front, trying to find a way by.
He is, and Antoine Comeau, he's a bond trader by profession, originally from Canada, based these days in Chicago. Looking to the inside there of Barry Balog, but not quite close enough to make a move into turn 4. So he remains there in the 7th position. And it was a tricky qualifying session for Antoine Comeau. There was a red flag during the session caused by that car failure for the championship contending car, car number 54, Georges Sarget. And after that red flag, Antoine Comeau lined up at the pit exit rather than in his pit stall. The result of that, a drive-through penalty. So with the interruption and then having to make a drive-through penalty as well, he really didn't get a flying lap in. That's why he qualified much farther down the position, down the order than he'd expected in the 8th place. He's made up 1 position at the start. It's actually Brian Thenis he's trying to get past their number 17 car. He did get past Ari Balog on the 1st lap, but Antoine Comeau, he knows he's got a much faster JMF Racing, Conquest Racing car than the 7th position, which he is right now.
This good battle going, and we talk about a 3-hour event. That changes everything, Jeremy, as far as the strategy goes, and you kind of wonder, with these cars being able to run somewhere between 50 minutes and an hour, if you can get an hour in on both stints, you can do it in just 2 stops. The question is, especially for a driver like Maurice Krantz out in front right now, is he in fuel save mode already, seeing if he can extend this first stint for an hour and then throw in the championship complexion, go literally to the other end of the grid, the 54, Josh Sarget behind the wheel right now, sharing that car with Dakota Dickerson. We said only 10 points separated them coming into the weekend, and there's Sarget. He's only picked up 2 positions on the start. He's got to be smart, Jeremy. He's got 3 hours and a teammate to hand this car to. They've got time to get to the front. He needs to steadily move forward, but I wonder what kind of fuel strategy they are on, because I thought Sarget may have charged a little bit harder. Are they saving fuel early on?
We'll be right back with more IMSA Prototype Challenge Racing on NBCSN. Welcome back to IMSA Prototype Challenge from VIR.
Traction control, not super advanced traction control on these cars, but you need a little bit of it. Former iterations didn't have it, as you see. Keith Grant down in turn 2 with a big slide. We were talking about the 21 car being on rails earlier. Keith Grant has taken the slot car analogy to to that one that slides around because the rear of that 40 hanging out there, and that's a problem if you do that too much, Jeremy. You can begin to wear the rear tires, and the car is going to be a handful as Grant now up through the climbing S's, like we were talking, flat out, grabbing gears on the way up there. But he and his brother have had a great run this year. They've showed all kinds of speed. You look at their finishes, they finished 3rd, 8th, 4th, and 13th. Not a good run at Watkins Glen, but the worst they've qualified is 5th. That was once. Every other time they've qualified inside the top 3 and actually on the front row twice. They've shown great speed. They just haven't had the finishes that they wanted, but finishes is where the points pay out. And another problem for Alan Brynjolfsson.
Oops.
There's the problem there. You get those slick Michelin tires off in the wet grass, hard to find traction. And he's fortunate because, to me, I didn't think you could leave the racetrack today without getting to a tire wall. And is that the problem there onto the front straightaway? The 47 was involved, but there was a white and blue. Was that the leader? It was. Maurice Krantz, the leader, a problem trying to get past the 47 car of John Brownson. I think Krantz was around.
He was he? Yeah, 154 won that last lap. So a spin. Oh no. Let's see what happened. Can we see what happened?
This is looking back from turn 1. That's Brynjolfsson going off.
Yeah.
And about the same time Brynjolfsson went off, here's Krantz trying to get by Brownson coming down through the roller coaster. Doesn't see him. That's a big hit side to side, but I also saw, looked like maybe part of the front splitter of one of the cars come off. The 47 of Brownson ends up in the wall at the outside of the corner. Krantz back underway, but you've got to wonder about that car. That is a rare mistake, and I'll call it a mistake for Krantz right now, but we don't see hiccups very often for him, and I think he just felt like Brownson saw him. But man, with a lead like the one that he had, did you really need to do that there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult place to pass. I mean, it's full commitment coming down the hill there toward Hog Pen, and you've got to be absolutely sure that the guy that you're trying to pass knows what you're trying to do there. Poor John Brownson, he's got that car spinning around on the wet grass. He's got some traction. Is he going to get back up the hill again? Oh man, it's so treacherous down there on that slick grass. He's just got to try and point it downhill.
Yeah, downhill. Turn left. Turn left
would be the key there, John, and just try and get a little bit of, you know, he's from,
there you
from
go.
Colorado. He knows all about slippery surfaces.
There you go. And now there's the rear entry, but that's a scary place to do it. But yeah, well done. Like you were saying, Jeremy, you want a little bit of that downhill to help you get going. That avoided a full course caution, but for Maurice Krantz, his lead now down to 4 seconds. And what kind of Duquesne chassis does he have underneath him? I saw him weaving the car from side to side down the straightaway, trying to get an idea. Is everything where it needs to be? Is everything in the right place? Is the steering wheel straight? Is the alignment off a little bit? What kind of car do I have to work with? Are my Michelins up to pressure? Did I cut a tire down? Like I said, a move that I'm not sure that if he could do it over again, he wouldn't do it differently.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And as a result of those cars spinning around down there, yeah, everybody was slower on that last lap, but you're getting right back up to speed again. Maurice Krantz actually extended his lead over Dan Goldberg by almost 2 seconds on that on the next lap, so to speak, on the lap after his spin, despite the fact he went across the line at significantly slower speed, having resumed from going off at the final corner. But he's back up to speed again, and Dan Goldberg now is he's got his mirrors pretty much full with Keith Grant from Tennessee, hot on his tail, hot on the tail of the Floridian Dan Goldberg in that Motel 6 car.
40 minutes into the only endurance race Prototype Challenge will run in 2021, 3 hours from here at Virginia International Raceway, and drama for the leader, Maurice Krantz, caught up with John Brownson as he was trying to lap him down through the roller coaster section of the racetrack. Has turned Krantz around, lost the huge lead that he had, and now trying to extend that back over Dan Goldberg. But that was a problem that Krantz probably did not need to have. And it's easy for us, Jeremy, to sit here and judge because we're not behind the wheel of that car as you're coming down through the S's and you're making split-second decisions. And for Kranz, like I said, I'm sure it's one that he would like to have back, especially if there's damage done to the car. But with a 42.87 the last time by, I would say either he is seriously upset with himself and pressing hard to make amends, or the 21 Duquesne chassis from Muller Motorsports America underneath him is quite sound indeed. As the 54, Josh Sargé, second in the championship, trying to move his way forward, trying to get around the 17 of Tinas right now.
Yeah, just get past Brian Tinas there at turn one. It's a bit of a battle, though. He should have been a bit more aggressive there, I think, Josh Sargé, and really assert himself, dive down the inside, so there's no way Brian Tinas can turn in to that corner, but he does make the pass, so he is up now in 6th position, but the gap back to the race leader is still over 40 seconds, despite the fact that Moritz Kranz lost about 10 seconds with that spin just a few laps ago. So Josh Sargé now is up into 6th, excuse me, but he's still got a long way to go to catch up to the front of the field. But as you say, Moritz Kranz, having made that mistake, right back on the same sort of pace that he was running before that spin at turn 17.
It's amazing what kind of fire gets lit underneath you from time to time. As a problem for the 74 off Jason Rabe, nosed into the tire wall. The car looks to be okay. Rabe, just a little lockup, I'm going to assume, on the brakes here. Let's see, just slides wide. That's up at 11 and 12. We see this quite often. The left rear gets dropped as you're trying to let the car track out and get ready for turn 12. And when it drops, especially as wet as it is to the outside today, that tire hits that slick dirt and grass, and around you go.
You're watching IMSA Prototype Challenge on NBCSN. Welcome back to IMSA Prototype Challenge from VIR.
Man, this is a good battle. Stephen Mclear in the 43, Colin Mullin in the 34, and they are going at it hammer and tongs there into turn 1. Little bit of a squeeze by Mullin, Mclear having nothing to do with it, and they were side by side through a couple of corners. Two very, very talented sports car drivers. I will tell you, though, what I was noticing as far as aerodynamic bits and pieces on the cars, maybe good news for Dakota Dickerson, Jeremy, and that is Rasmus Lind seems to be running a very similar downforce package, at least to the naked eye, that Dakota Dickerson is running, and I don't see DeWilde pulling away all that much down the straightaway in the Duquesne chassis, so perhaps if Dickerson can get there, he'll be able to battle with. Maybe a couple of car links the Duquesne has, but he's not just driving away. I don't think it had the top speed that the 33 of Balo had.
You might be right. That's going to be very, very interesting to see. Oops, no, 74 car off the road again. That's not the first time
he's
today.
got some.
It's Jason Rabe again. Same place he was off before, isn't it?
Yeah, that's some damage to the rear wing this time. He's going to have to come to pit lane. Obviously, it's deranged the splitter underneath and also the rear wing, and hopefully it stays on as he heads down the straightaway here and does not depart, because that could create another full course caution if it came to rest in the middle of the racetrack. Hopefully Jason can get that car back to pit lane. They can effect repairs and get it done. I'm going to think it happened similarly, except there was another car right there. I wonder if the other car was involved as well, but ended up in almost the exact same spot that he was before, this time with the opposite end of the car striking the tire wall, and this time with damage, which he did not have last time. Colin Mullin all over the gearbox of the yellow number 40 just in front. Now showing Keith Grant behind the wheel, so perhaps they didn't do the driver change, because after the pit stop it was showing David in the car, but doesn't really matter who's in it. Colin Mullin trying to get by it, so is Stephen Mclear, and just behind them, the number 3 of Mike Skeen. He is down a lap, but behind Skeen is Trent Hinman charging forward in the number 7. Alan Brynjolfsson started that car, had a couple of problems, but Hinman, man, with that full course caution, it was perfect for them. It has brought him back into the battle.
It has, but he slipped back a bit shortly after the restart, but he's now made up that ground again and back onto that train of cars. And you were talking about that battle between Colin Mullin and Stephen Mclear. Coincidentally, those two cars, because it's mainly his co-driver, Stephen Mclear's, Colin Mullin's co-driver, that was battling with Stephen Mclear in the GT4 series over the last couple of weekends. So once again, they find themselves put together on the racetrack. Dakota Dickerson set a new fastest lap of the race last time around. That's Mullin off the road, isn't it?
Off at Hogpen, a long slide. He hasn't hit anything. Skeen trying to get past Stephen Mclear. Now Skeen outbreaks himself into turn one. He is off. Skeen was trying to get his lap back. Only his second appearance in a prototype challenge machine this year, finished on the podium the first time he was in it, and he's trying to keep it moving. And again, the wet grass here and slick Michelin tires is a problem. Colin Mullin, I believe, may be stuck there just off the front straightaway.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Was a contact between those two. It was the number 33 car was slowing to come into the pit lane. I wonder whether that caused that incident there. Could well have been. And most unfortunate for Mullin. The car kind of pointed the wrong way. Let's have a look and see what happens. It's number 33 guy's leading. Oh. He slows right down. He blocked the number 40 car as he was heading towards the pit lane. Colin Mullin was stuck on the outside. Nothing he could have done about that. That was a well, unfortunately, it's one of the incidents going to happen here. But Ari Balog there, slowed up in the middle of the corner and caused a concertina behind him.
Yeah, I think Grant actually gets into him. Look at him come off the corner. Grant has no idea that Balog is going to slow to come into the pit lane. Yeah. You don't see it from that angle, but from the angle looking down the racetrack the other direction. Watch this. Well, this is Skeen off in one. So we'll get back to Hogpen, and you'll see that one view looks like he just moves to avoid, but on the other view, I think what you'll see is that there's actually contact that's made. Look, so Grant hits the back of the 33, then slides left. Colin Mullin gets put off the racetrack by Grant. That's that contact that put Mullin to the outside, all precipitated by Ari Balog. And Balog, to me, looked like he was out in the fast lane slowing down. In my mind, he should have been tucked further right if he was going to commit to the pit lane.
There's more coming your way just around the corner. Welcome back to IMSA Prototype Challenge from VIR.
Kranz's championship on his shoulders. He has been perfect to this point on the restart. Every lap that he's put in, he's defended when he needed to and hasn't risked too much to keep Lynn behind. But Lynn, very aggressive. And again, you look at the championship implications of it, Jeremy, and Rasmus Lynn, Dan Goldberg in 5th, their best finish of the season. A 2nd place at Sebring, a 3rd at Watkins Glen last time out. Goldberg and Lynn have had speed. They would like to take a victory, and they don't really have a lot to lose. Oh, and there he goes around. That's a Danny Sullivan. That was crazy. Rasmus Lynn, a spin off of turn 10. Look at this. Gets through. A slide sideways, the car hops a little bit, starts to go over, then comes back around a complete 360 and maintains the position. And a problem for the 21.
Slow.
And just like that, the championship complexion changes. A problem for the 21. De Wilde, slow, well off the pace.
So Rasmus Lynn spun on that lap and now leads the race.
Look at the top of the screen on the replay coming off, and then a puff of smoke for De Wilde as he came off of Oak Tree, tracked out, upshifting off of the corner, and then he grabs the 4th gear, and a puff of blue smoke out of the back. You were talking earlier, Jeremy, and you shouldn't have said it. You talked about how reliable the power plants were. They're going to call you. If indeed it's a problem with the engine, it's going to be your fault. 21 to the pit lane. They'll fuel it just as a precaution. They can't work on it yet. They'll go ahead and fuel it just in case it's an easy fix. And once the fuel is in, I would expect to see the engine cover come off. Looked like they were even having a... See, one of the mechanics in the back kind of giving the cut sign across the throat, telling them to shut the engine down. Here comes the engine cover. Just like that. Just like that. 10 points was Maurice Krantz's lead coming in, but it is not over. It's an hour and 34 minutes to go. And I'm just looking at the body language by those mechanics. The one nearest the wall looked in and just hung his head and began to kind of slowly walk away. If indeed the 21 is out and the 54 stays, the championship lead would go to the 54. I'm not even going to go there yet with an hour and 33 minutes left to go in this race. But even if the 54 were to drop out now and Gewilde out, you see his head shaking. I think it's day done for the 21. It's why we race, Jeremy. It's why we race. You never know what's going to happen. Think about what just happened. We saw Rasmus Lind, a complete 360, the car airborne, didn't lose a position, carried on, and 2 corners later, the race leader came off the corner, upshifted 2 times, and a mechanical problem. And now a problem for the 47, Cangialosi in the fence.
This is a dramatic race, isn't it? Just astonishing to think that Rasmus Lind should spin on that last lap and end up in the lead of the race. I mean, in second place.
I still can't believe that.
People can say that.
It was the oddest thing. I've never seen one of these cars hop like that. The car slid sideways. We talked about it earlier. It's a 145-mile-an-hour corner. The car slid sideways and then developed so much grip, so much downforce. Watch the right side tires. There's the slide. They just dig in. He starts to go over. And you've got to think Dakota Dickerson was all over the brakes going, whoa, this is going to be ugly. And it was ugly. Look at the right side tires just dig in.
That's amazing.
And the car almost goes over and then around. He releases the brakes.
Well, Brian, his lap time was a 144.8, including that spin. His previous lap was a 42.0, so he only cost him 2 seconds on that lap. But on his next lap, he sets the fastest lap of the race. We're under caution now, but he set the fastest lap of the race, did Rasmus Lind, a 141.535 for the young Swede. That was an amazing couple of laps.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, truly, other than Danny Sullivan at the Indianapolis 500, I've never seen anything like that. But even Sullivan didn't get airborne, and look what all the turbulence has done, not to the shock cover that's missing, but to the windshield wiper.
The action continues from Virginia International when we come back. Welcome back to IMSA Prototype Challenge from VIR.
Stephen Mclear through the climbing S's there in car number 43 for Robillard Racing, that Duquesne chassis. Other than that Duquesne in 3rd position, all the other top 6 cars are Ligiers. The Grant brothers, David, is in 7th place in car number 40. That also is a Duquesne, but it's been a Ligier race so far at the moment, as we see a couple of cars struggling at this stage. But Stephen Mclear is closing on Rasmus Lind. Each last couple of laps, he's reduced that deficit. It's now just over a second between the 2nd and 3rd place cars.
There's Mclear at the top of the hill coming down through the roller coaster. Lind in the red and blue number 6 onto the front straightaway. Ligier in the hands of Lind. Duquesne in the hands of Mclear. And Stephen said he felt like the Ligier was the faster car. He's sitting in the behind the wheel of the Duquesne chassis. What do you do? He's had time to study. He's been around him. What's his plan? with just over 41 minutes to go. And that's what the professional race car driver does. He doesn't just get there and pounces. It's taking him a while to close in, and every lap he has a look. What do I see him doing? Where's he turning in? Is he turning in earlier than I am, later than I am? Where does he brake? How do I use that to my advantage? How do I use it to my disadvantage? I was talking to Steven last night, and he was saying, you know, I think they're the faster car. It should be fun. Fuel mileage is going to come down to it. He's the one that was telling me 145 miles an hour flat and easy up through the S's. I said it would be easy flat for me too, probably in second gear, not in top gear like you guys are. And then through Oak Tree. Now, according to him, it looked like the numbers that he gave me, and I'm not going to give them out to the general public because I don't want that data out there. It looked like he might have a mile an hour or two over some of the Ligier chassis, but again, it really depends on what downforce settings they decided to go with in the race and what downforce settings the Ligier chassis has just in front of him.
You're watching IMSA Prototype Challenge on NBCSN.
They came into this weekend in second. They sit third on the racetrack right now. If it were to end this way, it will be a big points day for them, but we still have a long way to go. Brian Till and Jeremy Shaw with you, and this has been a great one.
Yeah, and the good news for number 21 team, by the way, is because with Antoine Comeau having spun off the road and out of the car, the number 34 car for Conquest Racing and JMF Motorsports, that means that Hugo de Wilde has now moved past for another position, so up into 11th place now. That'll be worth 200 points for that number 21 team, and particularly because he's not in the championship race. This is his first event of the season. For his co-driver Moritz Kranz, those extra 10 points could be very, very useful come the end of the season in a few weeks' time.
Well, think about that, Jeremy. I mean, just 15 minutes ago, maybe 20 minutes ago, they were 13th in class and 180 points. Now they're 10th in class, or 11th in class, with 200 points, so a 20-point swing. Why do they not quit when the car has a problem and breaks down and it's sitting there in pit lane? Because you've got an hour and a half to go, and if you can get it back on the racetrack and salvage even one more position, it's another 10, maybe another 20 points if you can salvage 2 more positions. That's what the 21 team has done, and they are out there collecting points, and that battle right there, Garrett Grist in the 33, that bright yellow and red, going to battle with Trent Hinman, a little argy-bargy, as Calvin Fish would say. They're into turn 14, a pretty good smack wheel to wheel.
It was coming down the straight there, and again that straight line speed advantage that the number 33 car has. He wasn't very, he was very forceful, wasn't he? Trent Hinman trying to sort of squeeze him down there on the inside of the corner, but Chris just, well,
I think
that was,
I don't know. It almost looks like Trent Hinman thought that Grist was going to clear him pretty quickly and aggressively, and he was going to drop in behind him because the contact was left front to right rear in a place where you wouldn't really expect that. So think about where you sit in these cars on the right side. Perhaps Trent Hinman just kind of lost perspective on the 33 there. That's typically not something that you would see out of either one of those drivers. No harm, no foul. They have continued on, and the battle up front continues on with just over 6 minutes to go. It's been ebb and flow ever since Stephen Mclear was able to take the lead on the restart. That little bit of lockup for Rasmus Lind into turn 1, opened the door, Mclear through, and it has stayed with this half-second lead. It was 0.49 seconds, 0.51 seconds, 0.50 seconds. I'd say that's consistent, and it's consistent in Mclear's favor.
It is, so that's exactly what he needed to do there. But the fastest car on the track last time around was the 3rd place car of Dakota Dickerson, who's only a couple of seconds behind, and he just turned his best lap of the race, 141.543. So yeah, I think he was. Well, he wouldn't have needed to save fuel after that. After that pit stop, but he's now running a lot faster than he was before we had that latest caution period.
And he is right there now. Think about it, he stopped a little bit later. He has a little fresher tires on the car as well, so perhaps that's what we're seeing. But Dakota Dickerson closing in now in that podium position. And in fact, if you look at the 54 team, Dakota Dickerson, Josh Jarget, they have not been off of the podium all season long. I always say consistency wins championships. You find a way, you're always there. You should always be there. If you finish third in a third place car, you won your class for the day. And I think that's what they've done all season long. They've presented the best car they can. They've done the best job they can. They've had a win, 3 other podium positions, and it looks like if they can hold on for another 4.5 minutes, they'll have another podium position, and they'll have the championship lead when we leave Virginia.
But Dakota Dickerson once again on the last lap said his fastest lap of the race at 1:41.4, but the but is that Garrett Grist behind him turned a 1:40.8. He made up more than half a second on that last lap, did Garrett Grist, so he hasn't given up hopes of a podium finish by any means.
1 minute and 42-second laps, basically on average. Grist is running out of time. So is Rasmus Lind. The gap was half a second the last time by at the line, and I think it may be just slightly greater than that this time as Stephen Mclear one more time leads through Hogpen and down the front straightaway. It should just be a couple of laps left here at Virginia International Raceway for Stephen Mclear. Can he bring Joe Robillard their first victory in the 2021 season? Joe Robillard's first victory in Prototype Challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be awfully close, actually, whether there's 2 laps or 3. There are about 3 minutes 42, I think, remaining. They're turning 1:40 something, so it's going to be fairly tight. But he's still leading. Actually, this is probably the biggest lead he's had now as he heads up through the S's and towards the climbing S's on his 89th lap. But lurking there behind him remains Rasmus Lind, and not far behind him also is Dakota Dickerson. Closing on both of them is Garrett Grist as well. Actually, last lap around for Garrett Grist wasn't quite so good. He must have made a mistake, I think. Cost him a little bit of ground to Dakota Dickerson, but this race is far from over.
Far from over. It was 0.8 of a second, I should say, at the line the last time by Stephen Mclear over Rasmus Lind, but it is less than that as they come off of Oak Tree with 2.5 minutes yet to go. Looks like 2 more laps, Jeremy, I would think. I don't think they're going to get to the line and see a white flag this time by, do you?
It's going to be tight.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, but no, I think it's going to be 2 more laps, but it is close. 1 minute, yeah, they're within 10 seconds out. So no, it won't be white flag this time. It will be next time around.
So next time by, it'll be 2 more laps now for Stephen Mclear. Just another 2 minutes. He's got to hold on and keep Rasmus Lind behind. The Michelin tires beginning to lose their edge. Car getting lighter on fuel, dancing around just a little bit more. And while the car and the tire may be going away, Rasmus Lind is not going away, Jeremy. In fact, he is closer than he has been in the last 15 minutes to the rear wing of the 43 of Stephen Mclear.
Yeah, and Dakota Dickerson's, he's only another 10-12 car lengths back as well. So if these two get into a heated battle, then Dakota Dickerson could be there ready to pounce. And over the last couple of laps, he just turned his fastest lap again as Dakota Dickerson in that 3rd position, a 1:41. Oh, excuse me, no, that was the previous time. But he was in the 49 certainly. He's losing no ground to the leaders. And he's in a podium position as well. He's managed to maintain that gap over the last couple of laps from Garrett Grist, who is still in 4th place.
Looks like Stephen Mclear is able to get that great run off of Oak Tree every lap. Leads, pulls out another car length, maybe 2 over Rasmus Lind. And that gives him some breathing room. Hogpen. One last time, 30 seconds to go. White flag this time by. Round 5 closing down from VIR for Prototype Challenge. Stephen Mclear, 1 lap to go. The first victory of the season for Robillard Racing. Stephen Mclear, Joe Robillard. It lies less than 1 lap away, but there's no one who would rather throw a wrench into that than Rasmus Lind, the driver in the number 6. He and Dan Goldberg have been on speed all weekend long and have been so impressive. Rasmus Lind with that spin up in turn 10 earlier in the race without losing a position, and has not gone away. They've had a couple of trials, a couple of tribulations, a couple of scary moments, but they've held on. What can they do? Lind there seems to be a little better through the beginning of the climbing S's, had closed in. Perhaps that run off of turn 5 gives him a little bit of advantage, closes in, but if you're gonna do it, you need to get it done now. Heavy braking into turn 11, into 12. He looks inside, he's there. They're gonna make contact side by side off the corner. Mclear back to second place. What are the officials going to say about that? They'll take a look. What's Mclear going to have to say? He's to the inside. This is the preferred line into the braking zone at the end of the back straightaway. Can he hold it? Side by side, wheel to wheel. It doesn't get any closer than this. Stephen Mclear, Rasmus Lind. Who's going to make it through the corner? Mclear is off. Lind goes through. Just like that. You had to get it done. There was time running out, only a few corners left to go. Rasmus Lind, spin to win at VIR down the front straightaway, takes the checkered flag. The first win of the season for Dan Goldberg and Rasmus Lind, and it came with the gloves off.
There's more coming your way just around the corner. Welcome back, everyone, where the 5th round of the IMSA Prototype Challenge Series is in the books. Now let's head down to victory lane and hear from today's winners.
We know all through the race we were faster in sector 2, and I just cooled down my tires a little bit because I overpushed it in the beginning of the last restart, and they told me it's in 11 I need to do it because that way we were faster, and I just went off the brake and just did it, so finally.
Oh, it was wild. The whole race was pretty wild, a roller coaster of emotions. We were pretty sure he was done for at that moment. Car was going to be on its hood wholesale, and then he saves it, keeps position, pick up first next lap. It was just nuts. So, we're pumped for everybody, for Performance Tech, for Motel 6. We've been working all year. We've had a lot of really good finishes, but not that top step, and we finally got it done today. Couldn't be more pleased.
Well, today's race is one that Rasmus Lind will remember for the rest of his life. He won't be able to forget it because of the videos that will exist on just about every major sports platform. A spin and win for Dan Goldberg, Rasmus Lind. They come away with the victory. It was hard fought for sure. For Dakota Dickerson and Josh Sargé, they did exactly what they needed to do. Sargé started out, was a little bit conservative. He wanted to make sure he had a car to hand over to Dickerson so they could stay in the championship hunt. That they certainly did with that second place finish. Looking back though, you talk about a great battle and a great victory for Goldberg and Lind. Go back to 6th place where you find Joe Robillard, Stephen Mclear. Robillard was so steady in his opening stint, handed Stephen Mclear a car he could do battle with, and Mclear, that little bitty mistake halfway through the last lap, and then the contact from Rasmus Lind puts him off the racetrack and eventually off in turn 14, trying to get the position back. They fought hard, but they come away with a 6th place finish. But you have to go to page 2 of the results for the real story, and that is in 11th place, championship leader coming into the weekend, Maurice Krantz. They had that mechanical problem, but the team doing what they needed to do. They would put the car back out from time to time to just grab another couple of laps to make sure that they were getting as many championship points as they possibly could. Eventually, they come home 11th. Well, how do today's race results translate to championship points? Let's take a look. Dakota Dickerson, Josh Sargé with that strong 2nd place finish, just being steady, doing what they needed to do. They've now finished on the podium every race so far this season. They take over the championship points lead After Maurice Krantz had those mechanical issues, he slips to second, but only by 100 points, and that is really nothing. He is still very much in this championship. And talk about staying in the championship. Dan Goldberg, Rasmus Lind, they catapult from 5th coming into VIR to 3rd in the championship, leaving VIR after that stirring victory, and they are mathematically capable of winning this championship. Be sure to catch the next and final race of the season for IMSA Prototype Challenge in early November, when round 6 of the season takes the green at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as a part of IMSA's Motul Petit Le Mans.
It has been a spectacular one. It's what we expected, the only 3-hour race of the season. This is the kind of racing that Virginia International Raceway breeds. One more race to go to decide the championship in Prototype Challenge. It will come at you from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in just a few weeks' time.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and don't forget, NBC is your home for motorsport and the exclusive network for all of IMSA sports car racing.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.